Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Black Robe podcast. I'm Carol Mitchell, founder of the Institute for Black Justice, and I'm your host for tonight. I'm excited to bring you this very special presentation from Tacoma Pro Bono Night in Tacoma. At the beautiful Tacoma Art Museum. And Tacoma Pro Bono, as many of you know, provides much needed, low cost or no cost civil legal services. And I'm very proud to have been their special guest speaker on this very special night. So watch carefully and listen, and you will have a better understanding, hopefully, of why it's so important for lawyers to remember the oath that they took when they were sworn into the profession, the oath to be attentive to and concerned about those who are the least, who are the oppressed, the marginalized in our community. Enjoy.
At these two tables, would you just stand? All of my friends, Brain Trust members, T-Bash, collaborators, co-conspirators, thank you, Robe, please, all of you. I had a rough couple of years, as some of you know, but I thank my Creator for every moment, every emotional moment that I came through, because it was a journey, and I came through it largely with the help of my friends. I thank my ancestors, my family, and these deeply loyal people to whom I'm grateful. I also want to thank Tacoma Pro Bono's Carly Roberts and Lori Davenport and Sal Mangia. Thank you for granting me the privilege of the microphone. Yeah, he who holds the mic runs the show. And I'm not giving it back, at least not for a few minutes. I do also want to thank the sponsors for making it possible for all of us to be here, all my peeps and your peeps and all of you to be here and the community to be here without an admission charge. You know, this could be a $100 a seat event, and even those of you standing up could be paying it, right? But thanks to the sponsors, we are all able to be here. So this may come as a surprise, but I've got something to say tonight. And I promise to get it said in 20 minutes or less. Who's gonna time me? I know some of you are out there looking at your watch even now, so time me. It's such a pleasure to look around the room at the brilliance looking back at me. It was my 6th grade teacher, Marty Hall, who, because I talked all the time in class, she first taught me how to use my voice in a proactive and productive way. And she also taught me how to look at an audience and really see them. To see not just their faces, their hair, their clothes, but to look deeper and to see their hopes and their dreams, and maybe even some of the things they were afraid of. And tonight I see your knowledge, I see your skills and abilities, your passion, your integrity. It's all represented in the room. I see some of my alums like Shelley Spear. We went through law school together. And I wonder, what exactly did you go through to get yourselves dressed and in here tonight? And I know some of you, you know you look good, right? Go ahead, you can say it. I look good tonight. Go ahead, you can say it. Say it. Come on. I look good tonight. Say it. Yes, you do.
Absolutely.
We see you. I want to leave you with that message tonight. We see you. And I want you to just take 1 minute and tell the person next to you, I see you.
I see you.
I see you.
I see you.
I see you. Isn't it good to be seen? Especially when you look good, right? So come walk with me and let me show you something else that I see. in my work as a social justice advocate, as the founder of the Institute for Black Justice. My baby is 2 years old. It's toddling. It's just a little toddler. It's a 2-year-old baby. It just celebrated its 2nd birthday. Let me share with you the need I see for pro bono legal services and how important they are in achieving our hope for equal justice. If I were to frame what I see and give it a title, it would be this: taking up the cause of the oppressed. Taking up the cause of the oppressed. Pro bono service is a pathway to equity and justice for all. And that title is anchored in an oath that I took, and many of you have taken, and some of you will take in the future. I took that oath on November 5th, 1997. I was standing in the lobby of what was then Bonneville, Viert, Morton, and McGoldrick. How many of you know where that lobby is? Anybody that old? Okay, Dwayne. Judge Christopher is old enough to know. Retired Judge Mary Wade Van Deeren swore me in as a young lawyer, November 5th, 1997. And that oath that she administered that night, it's in the RCW, for those of you who want to go read the whole thing. Here's the code section. 2.48.210. You know, lawyers, they love those numbers. It's like, where is it in the RCW? 2.48.210. Every person that's admitted to the practice of law has to take and subscribe to that oath. It's a heavy obligation. It's intense, and it's serious. And here's the part that I want to invite your attention to today. It reads, I will never reject, from any consideration personal to myself, the cause of the defenseless or the oppressed, or delay any person's cause for lucre or malice. So help me God. And I remember as Mary Wade, Judge Van Deeren was administering the oath, I remember saying to myself, amen lights and ashe. So I want to talk to you tonight about seeing the cause of the defenseless and the oppressed. And why is that important? Because it feels good to be seen. It feels good to be seen. So to whom does the oath refer when it calls out the defenseless and the oppressed? Who is the earth talking about? Is the oath talking about? It's not solely referring to those who are accused of criminal actions or those victimized by those crimes. At the IBJ, we show up in court in support of families on both sides of the criminal equation. We put on our IBJ black t-shirts, we pick out our afros, and we show up. And we feel just as deeply for the accused. Some days we cry just as much for the person convicted as we do for the victim. We are mothers and daughters and sisters and brothers and fathers, and we see the suffering of the families. We feel it because we are up close and personal. And today I want to invite you to step out of your comfort zone and get up and personal with the defenseless and the oppressed. I see them standing in line at the clerk's office. They're looking confused. We see them sitting nervously in the district court and the superior court. We see startling numbers of people trying to represent themselves against well-resourced adversaries who can afford to delay and deter their resistance. We see people in the law library who can barely afford to buy a divorce packet. They're digging down deep in their pockets, pulling up trash and coins, and then go stand in front of commissioners and judges, trying to answer legal questions they don't even understand, questions asked of them in a language that they have never heard before. They need you. They need you. Those of you who took the oath, the defenseless and the oppressed, they need you. They need legal help, and they cannot afford it. They are consequently victimized and re-victimized by those who can. So come with me. Take up the cause of the bruised and the battered women and children who need that temporary and permanent restraining order, or the family that's forced to live in their car or their tent because there's no room at the shelter and it's too dangerous for them to return to their home. They need you. Serious, they need you. I want you to see them. I implore you to see them with me today. They're not all dressed up and looking fine and pretty like we are today. Especially the ones that live in those hot spots, you know the places that, in Tacoma and Pierce County, those places, those neighborhoods that are sizzling with the heat of violent crime, and where we've been lulled into thinking that we can fix the problem with high visibility policing and more police, and where blight and rundown properties stand as beacons of deprivation and gentrification. They need you to come down out of those really nice offices on the 10th floor and get real, get down, get dirty, come front and center, be present, be available. Look at those neighborhoods, look at them. Can you see the impact of years of disinvestment? Can you see it? Have you ever actually looked at the hilltop? Do you know its history? Are you representing one of those absentee investors who do the bare minimum to maintain their property because they're waiting for the light rail to increase their equity so they can sell to the highest bidder? They need you. If you want to find the oppressed, if you want to find the defenseless, take a look at Clallam Bay Correctional Facility and tell me who you see. Take a look at the Pierce County Jail and Echo Glen and Raymond Hall and see who is overrepresented there. They need you. Look at the loss of potential and talent and the loss of rights and privileges. It's almost impossible to re-enter. It's almost impossible. You can't get housing, you can't get a job, you can't vote, and you wonder why there are hot spots in the city. That's the reason why. If you don't believe me, check out the most recent Pierce County point-in-time count. How many of you have read it? Estimating 4,300 people experiencing homelessness in Pierce County. 1,851 counted, 52% people of color. That's why the IBJ exists, right there. Check out the new report called The Racial Wealth Gap is the Housing Gap. Comes out of Denny Heck's office. What does it say? Access to housing in America is racially inequitable. No surprise to me. And because housing is a primary source of intergenerational wealth, some of you inherited your great-grandmama's house. Tell the truth. You got a head start because your parents left you their home. You did not have to start from scratch. But because housing in America is racially inequitable, this generation and the next generation of families of color will get no relief from poverty without you. Come down. Get real. Come on. See these folks with me. And for the readers in the room, you can find the Defenseless in print. Just take a look at Richard Rothstein's book, The Color of Law. It's old. It's been around a while. I love the example he gives of how government plays a big role in segregating America through its own action or its inaction. How about how it ignored financing practices and subprime loans that targeted people of color and ultimately led to the financial crisis and collapse when hundreds of thousands of people lost their homes. And you wonder why there's homelessness. They need us. Our world, our community is under intense pressure right now. That's why the IBJ was born. We're trying to relieve that pressure. We've all been socialized to put people in a box, to see them as separate from ourselves, to blame them, the defenseless and the oppressed. It is they, we say, who are responsible for the state of their lives. The pandemic tore the scab off of racial wounds and attitudes that had never really been properly healed. Let's just tell the truth. I was born in 1959. I was here in 1964. It never healed. And now, what are we doing? We're banning books. We're resegregating schools. We're blocking the vote, flying Confederate flags out there in Frederickson, and refusing to allow women the right to choose what happens to their own body. We need lawyers to see what's happening to the defenseless and to the oppressed, and to come on down and do something about it. And yet when I look around this room and I see these beautiful, brilliant, educated, skillful, knowledgeable, wise, passionate people, I see hope. I see hope in those years of knowledge and those skills and those abilities, those passions, that integrity that each and every one of you represent. I see your dreams, I see your fears. I know you long for a community that is healed. I know you do. I know you want it. And deep down, you see the defenseless and you see the oppressed, and you know you can do something about it, and you have not done it. It's not too late. We took that oath. I took it November 5th, 1997. Now I challenge you to act on it. Get out there and let the defenseless see you for who you really are. Let the oppressed hear you speak on their behalf. Come on out to the front lines where the IBJ is, so that you can see clearly where you might shift the state of our community. And in that single revolutionary act of seeing, of noticing the defenseless and the oppressed, you can widen the door for those seeking equity and justice. I'll leave you with this. I see you tonight. Not the role that you play, not the title that you hold. I see your compassion. I see your caring and your concern. I see your desire for a community that is not fractured by isms. Come on down to the front lines. give that time, that service. It's time.